speak concerns, so it shouldn't be.
Okay. Let's go ahead and we're going to convene the Roy City Redevelopment Agency Board. Board members, just want to welcome you here. Appreciate anybody who'd like to be part of this conversation. I want to welcome you here. We're going to go ahead and jump into to consent items. We have the approval of the December 3rd, 2019 Redevelopment Agency meeting minutes. Do we have any comments, questions about those meeting minutes? Board, anything you want to? Okay, hearing none, then Board, do I have a motion then to approve the December 3rd, 2019 Redevelopment Agency meeting minutes? There's no amendments on these. So we're just approving as written.
Those addresses were
In the RDA or in the city council minutes?
I'm pretty sure it's the RDA one, because wasn't that the one that you?
If you found something you want to amend, then Diane, go ahead and you can approve with, and then state your amendments that you'd like to see adjusted.
She'll send me the amendments.
I'll send them, yeah, I've already talked to her about it, so I'll
She
send
doesn't
them.
have to state each one.
So there is some amendments that need to be addressed. Okay, I'm okay with that. Okay, then, again, do I have a motion then to approve the December 3rd, 2019 Redevelopment Agency minutes with amendments?
So moved.
Okay, do I have a second?
I second it.
Okay, we got a second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, we'll approve those minutes with the amendments. Thank you. Then we have a discussion, review, and discussion on the hotel feasibility study. Randy, you're going to share some dialogue with that. Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. So back in October, it was actually in September of last year, we had made a decision as a redevelopment agency board that we should go out and find somebody to do a feasibility study for us to determine whether or not a hotel could be built within the Roy City boundaries. This was based upon, as the Economic Development Committee was talking about what economic development activities could happen, and a retail leakage study that had been done about 3 years, I think, earlier. I think that was in 2015 or 2016, and as we were looking at what opportunities there were for economic development, one of the things that said that perhaps something that could be done in Roy is perhaps a hotel could be built in Roy. So in order to determine whether or not that could be done, we retained the HVS Consulting Group. And this group was retained because they are the #1 group that does hotel feasibility studies. The development committee has a lot of trust in their numbers and their study, as do a lot of real estate brokers that deal with hotels. And so we felt like we've hired the one that the market, whatever they come back, will find to be relevant and would be trusted to move forward, and they were retained. They started in October, and they completed their study in December, and they submitted us a final report. You have a copy of the 115-page report that was emailed to you if you care to go through and read every single page. It's a lot of detail. There's a lot of numbers. There's a lot of information in there. And what I'm trying to do today is just highlight what I think are the important things of this study. So the first thing was that, again, the objective of this market study was just to evaluate a market demand for a potential hotel within the city of Roy. In doing that, their conclusion was that there is a market for a hotel in Roy City. And they came in the study and gave specific parameters of what type of hotel that should be, the number of rooms, the amenities that it should contain, and when it could open, and how long it would take for the lease rates to get up to where the hotel would be sustainable, meaning that the developer or whoever builds it now makes a profit that would be good for the market for them to take that and go forward and build a hotel. So the study includes basically 4 parts. The study includes a review of the current market, what's in the market. It includes a review of the supply and demand within the market. It does a review of what the cost and the revenues would be for a potential hotel of the size that they're recommending. And then it also talks about potential locations and why those locations make sense for the development of a hotel. The study said that it also then spends some time really going through what the developers would want, which is the section that deals with income projections, the section that deals with income expenses, fees, costs, and all of that. And they put that in there in order for a developer or any interested party to know what they believe this hotel could generate in revenues. As it states in here, they say that the hotel should be a select service hotel or a upper mid-scale type of hotel, and that it should operate under a brand name currently not within the market. And I think that's important, is a brand name currently not in the market. And if you look at the study that shows the hotels, there are a number of hotels that currently are within this market. But some of those hotels are not this service selective or upper hotel. And that is where the advantage comes. And so that's why they've said it's a specific niche that we need to go after, but it is a niche that is not being served within the market. The hotel should be of at least 150 rooms. And they indicated that the hotel could open as early as January of 2022. So if you find somebody right now that's ready to move forward and can get the financing in place based upon the study, they could actually start construction immediately. There's no need to wait. They think the market is ready or will be ready by the time that they start developing it. The proposal indicated that the hotel should include a counter service food and beverage offering, or a casual restaurant and bar with a capacity of 50 people. It should have at least one meeting room, one boardroom, should have a business center or workstations, and a market pantry, coffee station, a pool, a fitness area, and that it would be somewhere between 3 to 4 stories in height. So it gives out the amenities. Now, if you think of what kind of hotel that is, the first thing that jumped in my mind is a Hampton Inn. If you've ever stayed at a Hampton Inn has exactly what those offerings are. Courtyard has some of that. So that's kind of where you're at. But it would be a brand that would be looking that's not currently in the market. It indicated that the hotel should be located in an area of the primary generators of the lodging demand, which would include Hill Air Force Base, include Falcon Hill, the museum, the Roy Innovation Center, and the I-15 corridor and interchange. So basically, this should be on 5600 South and 1900 West is basically the location that would be prime for this hotel. It didn't indicate in the study that the hotel could benefit if it were part of a mixed use, a larger development, but it can also stand by itself. It indicated in here that the real reasons that a hotel is feasible is because of those things I mentioned. There's a lot of activity that happens at Hill Air Force Base. One thing I do know about the hotel that was listed in here is the one in Clearfield that was being generated. That hotel is being generated based upon a government subsidy rate, where this one would not be a government subsidy rent, therefore a difference. It also indicated that the Roy Innovation Center, which we all know is being built now, will be opening, is a major, major reason for this hotel being built within this area. They think there will be a lot of government demand from that, and that, again, that's another reason why. They think the location on I-15 with the interchange happening will bring additional leisure types of things, and they do believe that there is a market share that we'd be able to capture. The study indicates that the stabilization occupancy level, which is the level that makes money for the developer, is at 70%, and that can be sustained or reached within the first 3 years. After it take about 3 years to get to a 70%. It'll start out at about 65% and then gradually move up to where it hits a 70%. The study indicated it's never 100% occupied, but there are many hotels, and most hotels are never 100% occupied. In fact, the best one that it showed in the study, I think, was a Courtyard or the Hilton Garden in Layton, which was about, in the summer months, was about an 80 or 85% occupancy. But it doesn't need to be 100% occupied to make money. It indicated that the average room rate should be about $105. So, as I mentioned, because it'll take a couple of years, it's my guess that any developer that would want to pursue this would probably approach the redevelopment agency to talk about whether or not we'd be interested in participating in this development with the tax increment. The area that is being considered is within one of the community reinvestment areas that we just created last month. So it's within a tax increment area. And for the new board members, we'll come back at another time and give you a crash course on what is tax increment and how does an RDA work. But those incentives could be applied if they were needed at the proper time. I think then, based upon this, and the reason we wanted to present it to you is because when we hired that consultant, we told the board we'd bring back the results of that study. Now we brought back those results to you in a public meeting. This now becomes officially a public document. I have 3 parties that have already requested this document. So we already have interest from people that are interested in pursuing with this, and they would like to get a copy of that study. And so our goal would be, as I put in next steps, is if you as a board accept this, then that opens up the door for us then to put it out for public consideration. And hopefully within the next few months, we'll have somebody come in here with a proposal of what they'd like to do. And we'll maybe get started with something very significant for Roy City.
Board members' discussion? What are you thinking?
I think it's great. I mean, it's something that makes us a destination place versus a pass-through. It's a great complement to the things that are going on, within or close to our community. I think it's something that will break open some economic development. I think maybe part of a mixed-use development, or it'll allow restaurants to build within the vicinity of it because they're capturing, the tenants of the hotel and that. I think it's a great thing. Close enough on and off the freeway, it's not generating a lot more traffic. I think it's exactly what we need.
Other thoughts?
I think it's very clear there's interest. He said 3 have reached out to him. So I'm not sure that we have to sell the farm to capture that.
I'm hoping we don't have to sell the farm to capture that. I'm hoping that the market will, just by the study and the numbers that they've ran and everything else, be convincing enough that it can fly it on. There may have to be some subsidy, but it doesn't have to be a 15 or 20 year based upon this study. That's for sure.
I think we need to be conservative.
I
Okay.
have just some detailed type questions
Sure.
about the report. And is this the place to do that, or would it be better
No,
to?
This would be the best place to do it.
Okay. So on page 1 of the study, it was talking about, second paragraph from the bottom. It says, second line from the bottom of the second paragraph, fees deducted at rates consistent with current market standards. I was just wondering, when you're talking about fees deducted at rates, is that meaning you're having where do those fees go? Who gets the fees that are being deducted from those rates? Is that something regarded to the city, or is that something otherwise?
That was on page 1, second
Page
paragraph.
1,
you said?
from the bottom? Mm-hmm.
I'm just getting down to that
Yep.
to see what it was.
And,
This
well,
is the management fee that would be deducted from the overall revenue that's generated from the hotel. And in the study, they did project that the management fee would be 3%. So they kind of taken that out as an expense before they figure the net operating income that would be done, because you're going to have that fee. And what they're referring to there is, at the time, they didn't determine what that fee would be, but they're estimating that fee to be 3% based upon other hotels within the marketplace.
and so a follow-up question on that bottom paragraph, the bottom line, when it talks about the franchise fee of 8%, basically they're saying that whoever chooses to build this then is probably going to be paying that name brand, that 8% fee
Yes,
for that.
that is correct. That what'll happen, and they've got that, when you go to the section that deals with income projections and expenses, they show that management fee and that franchise fee coming off of as an expense. And so the net profit has taken out of that analysis those fees. So
Okay.
it's an expense that would do, and they're assuming that if you're going after an upper scale hotel like this is talking about, an upper mid-scale or upscale select service project, they, again, based on their experience, that's usually an 8% franchise fee.
Okay. And then on page 4, table, or figure 1.2, or 1-2, I was wondering, when it's got the columns, it talks about the weighted annual room count. And I was wondering what it means when it talks about the weighted annual room count. Is that meaning that you disperse that over the year? Or what does weighted annual room count mean?
The weighted annual room count, from my understanding, is that it is the actual rooms that are being rented.
Like an
And-
average
and
over the year?
Over the year, that
Okay,
is correct.
that's where the weighted
Yes,
comes
that's
in,
where the weight
meaning
comes in, over the year.
peak at different
Times of the year.
but on average.
And on average, that's what it
Okay.
would be, and then it goes through and it shows, within there, it shows that, that different occupancy. There's another table in there that shows the different seasons. And if you
yes.
read that, it indicated that the government occupancy is its highest Monday through Thursday, whereas the leisure is more higher in the summers. So they give you that, kind of show you where the weighted come in based upon those different
For the balance.
times of the year. That
On
is
that,
correct.
on that same table, or figure 1-2, it talks about the occupancy penetration versus your yield penetration. And I wondered if you could just explain the occupancy penetration versus yield penetration, the very last 2 columns on the right,
Let me get over there.
on that same page 4.
Okay, let me just get to that table. So we're talking about the occupancy penetration of 90 to 95%, for example, on the Best Western High Country Inn, and then the yield penetration of 85 to 90%. The yield penetration, my understanding, is the percentage of the overall market. So you take your
Okay.
entire market and what that is collecting out of that overall market of all 19 or 2,000 hotel rooms that we have within the market. And the occupancy penetration is basically what it's getting as its share of the market. So there's a table in here where it goes through, it shows our share, and it's towards the end. If you give me a few minutes, I could find it, but it shows that we would probably capture 7% of the leisure market. We would capture 8% of the government market.
Yes.
And all those together equal that 64% potential occupancy rate, or that 70% potential occupancy rate as your share of the overall gains. And that's sometimes the formula. I haven't gone into all of the tables or the thing that they looked at that they did this, but my understanding in talking with Desiree about that is that market share will go up or down depending on how many new rooms come in, how old rooms go out, how old a hotel becomes. It's just very varying things. So as the first, you probably get a little higher market share, but over time, you get a lower. But so do all of the older hotels that are within the market. That same thing happens. So you get this up and down cycle that goes on, but it's the yield penetration or the occupancy penetration that I think, well, both of those together determines what your potential occupancy would be over a period of time.
Which would thereby let us know what kind of, we would get back in regards to sales tax or things like that,
Yeah,
basically.
now there's, I'm trying to remember, there is sales tax on a room, as I recall. And then what you would probably do if the hotel is developed, you as a city would probably want to adopt a hotel room tax for the city in addition to a sales tax. This did not go into great detail of what is the revenue the city would make, but we could do that analysis when we know exactly what type of hotel is being built, what's the assessed value would be, what are the types of things that might be available for purchase within that hotel. We can come up with our own generated numbers for the city. But that does not, they did not do that in this study. That was not part of their scope.
That's
I have
great.
a question for Andy. We're talking about the feasibility study, and he's talking about some interested parties. At what point do I have to recuse myself, knowing one of the interested parties well? I'm related to him. He's my son. So how can I accept the hotel feasibility study and then from here on out recuse myself?
Yes.
Or recuse myself from this
Yeah,
vote?
you wouldn't be able to participate in anything that may benefit your son financially.
That's what I thought.
So, and right now, we're having a discussion on this, and I think after the discussion, if the council wants to, feel free to disseminate this, they can do it.
So I think the next time we come back, if we get a proposal from your son, which again, for full disclosure, he did email me today and wanted a copy of it. I think once that goes out and it's in his hands, then I think at that point in time.
Yep, that makes sense.
But he doesn't have anything now. Nothing's been released, nothing's been sent, because we would not do that until you as a board had first had an opportunity to review the study. And second, we want your authorization to go ahead and release it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Hence the reason why we're here. You've got a proposal in front of you. The feasibility study is complete. The board has now an option to accept this, and by doing so, it now will become a public document that could be provided to interested parties to consider. Again, nothing is locked in, but it does give an opportunity to those who may be interested to consider Roy City as an option to put a nice hotel. And I like the idea that we're talking about upscale hotel. If you put a Hilton, a Marriott, a Hampton Inn, these are very good hotels that could bring a lot of opportunities to downtown city, and it surely would give us some good tax opportunities as well. So, but board, is there any other questions? Anything else you'd like to ask Randy on this?
On page 67, I was wondering on the second paragraph from the bottom, and this may be what you already addressed. It talks about the True by Hilton under development within the city of Clearfield. And it says that it's located outside of the Ogden-Layton competitive market. And I was wondering, is that because that's the hotel you were referring to that has the government?
Yes.
And so that's why it's it's a different.
That's part of the
Okay.
MITA deal.
It's a government hotel,
Okay.
basically, and so
Great.
they did not consider that as a competitor. Now, it is a competitor, there's no question about it, but because its rates and everything will be different than market rates, they did not consider that as
Okay.
something within our market.
All right, thank you.
But they did look at it. We asked them to make sure that
Exactly.
everything was still feasible, knowing that we knew that was being built just a few miles down the road from us.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we accept or adopt the hotel feasibility study as a board.
Okay,
I second the motion.
thank you. Okay. Is this an all in favor or is it a roll
Mayor,
call?
we didn't really have it down
We
on the
didn't,
agenda.
we didn't
so I
have
think
it, we
to
didn't have it
accept-
agenda, but I think if we just say, I think if you just are okay with the report as is and have no problem with this, releasing this to the public, that's all we really need from
Okay.
you right now.
Then,
I scratch that motion, I make a motion that we release this to the public.
okay,
I second that motion.
perfect. Then all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
I'll abstain, just because I just will.
That's fine. We understand. Board member?
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Randy. It's a good rundown. Obviously, we'll look forward to seeing if there's anybody that's interested in this proposed development. We'll bring it back to the RD board and let us kind of know where we're at. Okay. Anything else, board members, you want to talk about?
Yes.
Please.
Just real quick. February 1st, I think, if it's not a Sunday, Numbskull will be open in the Harmon's Marketplace Plaza. And Numbskull is the newest Roy business going in. They do work on video consoles. They also have, I believe, some selection of vintage video. They're based out of Salt Lake, and this is their second store. So we're glad to have them.
February 1st is a Saturday.
Then it's February 1st they open.
They open? Okay. Look forward to the grand opening. If you hear something on that, let's get it to the board members. Okay. Anything else, board members? Okay. Seeing none, hearing none. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it's adjourned. Thank you. Good discussion.